Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. This is episode 53. My name is Rachel Pekarik, and here at Soul CEO, we are passionate about helping network marketers and entrepreneurs build a profitable business without losing their family, their friends, or their soul. In this episode, we are covering one of my favorite topics, and I know I say that a lot, but I have a lot of things that I love training, but this is the crux of influence. This is seriously going to be one of those transformational audios, and I'm going to do a bit of a part 2 to this here really soon on a future episode, but this section talking about how to gain and sustain influence and really leadership over your tribe. There's so many good one-liners. This is straight John C. Maxwell, as I constantly reference as my biggest mentor when it comes to leadership. I really believe if you guys get a chance to grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, go through this once, twice, 3 times, and teach this to your team and share this podcast to your team. We do this podcast for free to bless you guys and to help edify you guys in your faith as well as in your enterprises. And because of that, because it's free, all I ask is that you leave a 5-star rating and a written review on this podcast, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. I'll really appreciate it. To share this on social media, on your Instagram, Facebook, tag me at Soul CEO. Today, I want to highlight one of our listeners, Miranda Verman, who said, "So much knowledge and love has been given to me by Rachel. Always a grace-filled heart. Learning how to juggle my faith, my family, and career has been hard. With your teaching, it's been easier. I'm still struggling to balance, but you never quit on me. I tell everyone I know to check out Soul CEO." Miranda, thank you so much for that 5-star review. And guys, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button. Tag me on Instagram by doing a little screenshot into your stories and let me know that you are listening. And if you leave a review, I might highlight you on a future episode. So let's dive into this conversation about leading by example and moral authority. It is the highest form of influence. Enjoy. We're going to be talking about Leadership 101. Leadership 101. So grab a new piece of paper. As we always say, the best leaders are excellent students. The best leaders are excellent students. And I'll tell you guys that I have not arrived in leadership, nor have I fully figured it out, nor would I say that I'm even an expert. But what I have done is I've surrounded myself with some of the most incredible leadership minds in the world, in the idea, in the realm of business, of network marketing, of internet marketing, of even service, evangelism, churches, building communities and tribes. And this, to me, my passion really for leadership really, truly excelled and amplified the moment that I hired John C. Maxwell as a coach. And this happened in 2014, that I had the ability to partner with him for 1 year. And in that year, I had one call a month with him, one call a month. And then several times throughout the year, we got together in person. So you can see us having breakfast together. You see Tara, that little monkey in the photo. You see Tanis back there as well. So having breakfast with John C. Maxwell, no big deal. Don't stress out. Everyone keep calm, okay? It was very amazing. This was from 2014, 2015, one of the best years of my life, because if you guys know my story, this was also when my previous business was failing. So why was that the best year of my life? Because I learned what leadership was from John, and I learned what leadership wasn't by the other examples that I had around me. And I got to get out of a very defunct style of leadership that I think was very performance-based acceptance. It was very, what have you done for me lately? It was very cancerous and aggressive and non-emotional and non-heart-driven, right? As the opposite of Team Heart. And I got to see this incredible man, hear him pour into us and teach us the basics of how to build an organization where people were loved, where they could win, and lead and really build a culture of growth. And we talked about that last week in the building a growth environment. It didn't stop with John, though. I've been super blessed. Some of my mentors some of these people I haven't talked to in years. Some of them I talk every single week or several times a week. But like Eric Worre or the Pajama Bosses or Danny Johnson, who was one of my, original mentors back in the day. I used to attend all of her events when she did live events and did private coaching. Man, she really is a velvet hammer. Woo! This woman really knows how to chap your butt for sure. Ray Higdon, how many guys love Ray Higdon, right? Drop a 2 in the chat. You guys love Ray Higdon. Absolutely love him, adore him. He is one of the funniest guys I've ever met, by far. And then there's Rob Spheri, we have a very similar mind. We have a very similar values, as well as our brain functions strategically similar. So I tell you guys that it's been such a gift working with him. I've been to 2 of his masterminds. Rita came with us and Erica at one of the masterminds that I spoke on in Hawaii. Wasn't that so great? It was just so awesome. And that's where Rita filmed her My Life Mentor story. So we get to always kind of look back at that beautiful week. And then Coach Brian Fryer, which you guys have been now getting to know a little bit more as we fold him into Team Heart as one of our premier trainers. And there's on and on and on and on. I have seen what it means to be a leader, and I want to share with you guys what I feel like this training is really about: the foundation of your leadership and influence. Because write this down, network marketing is leadership. Nothing more, nothing less. We lead people to a video. We lead people to a cart. We lead people to an enrollment. We lead people to a launch guide. And leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. We influence people to a video. We influence people to a cart. We lead people to an enrollment. We influence them to getting started training a launch guide. So if we want to succeed in Team Heart, then we have to be obsessive about studying, modeling, and developing leaders. This is why you guys hear me so much more intense on this call than Monday night. Guys, say yes in the chat if you've noticed that there's even in a few weeks a tonality difference from Monday night to this. There's a language difference. There's a verbal difference. There's word choices difference, right? There's an intensity, because this is the crux of it, guys. The job of a leader is to raise up other leaders. There was a recent study done. I was reading it, and it was asking this is like CEOs, like big corporate guys. And it was asking these high-level corporate executives, high-level leaders, leading teams of hundreds or thousands of people, what keeps them up at night? And the one major thing was finding good people and raising up leaders. Like finding the good ones, keeping them, and raising them up. I'm like, wow, you just defined network marketing. What keeps us up at night? Where we're going to find people, how we're going to keep them, and how we're going to raise them up. That's what network marketing is. Leadership, I love to use this phrase, leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do, because they want to do it. Leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Now, this is not out of manipulation. No. This is not sort of sorcery or has a sinister twist of it or coercion. We see a lot of coercion in our life right now through politics. Oh, too touchy, too soon? Don't want to talk about the coercion going on in every single marketing campaign and every celebrity and every single sign. It's like on the road signs here. Leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. No. Write this down. We talk about soulful persuasion, heart-driven persuasion. Why do we get people to do what we want them to do? Why would I get Jean to do what I want her to do? Because I want Jean to grow. Because I want Jean to get into her promised land. Because I want Jean to get to her goals. Why do I push Milena the way that I do? It's because I need her to get out of her way to have the breakthroughs that she's been having lately. So I get her to do what I want her to do, but I also know that if I go to the core and the crux of what her why is, and we get there, it's like, I know she wants to do it. She just can't see the forest through the trees. This is why we struggle so much. We think about duplication or mobilization, getting a new rep started. You get somebody started and then they kind of go AWOL. You go through the launch guide, you onboard them, and they're all like fired up. I'm going to do it. I'm going to run, da, da, da. And then they're like crickets. And what'll happen is an amateur leader, an amateur influencer, they'll be like, hey, Joe, what happened? Like, you said you were doing it. You said that this is what you wanted. Like, what are you doing? It's just crazy. It's easy. Just da, da, da. Instead of being like connecting, soulfully, like, hey, tell me what's stopping you up. Hey, you've been kind of quiet so far. What's going on in your head? What you feeling? Talk to me. Connection. And then we can go back to what it is they want so we can get them to do the play. Now we talk about, you guys who've been veterans here, we discussed the law of the lid. The law of the lid is the first law in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. It is the leadership Bible. That's non-Bible. Beyond the Bible, it's the leadership Bible. Written by John C. Maxwell, best-selling. If you guys have not read it, go buy it. 21 Laws, John C. Maxwell. 21 Laws, John C. Maxwell. The first law is the law of the lid, not because it's more important, but if you get it, all the other laws make sense. All the other chips fall, the dominoes fall. The effectiveness of a leader will never rise above their ability to lead others. Therefore, guys, your leadership skills does not just determine your success, but the success of your team. So the better and bigger and brighter that you get, why we always say leadership is an inside job, that means that your team can get bigger, better, and brighter. So your leadership falls on who? Who does it fall on? Guys, go to the chat. Let me know. Who does, when your team, where does the success fall on? Is it their problem? Yeah. I'm glad you guys are all saying me because I was afraid you guys were going to type you. I was like, whoa, we missed something here, right? But seriously. So we need to grow our lid. I love this little cartoon. The pastor at the pulpit holding a whip. And the guy's like, I'm not sure the congregation really appreciates his leadership style. But guys, simply put, the better leader you become, the better your team will produce. Go five lines up from what you just wrote. Network marketing is leadership. Nothing more. Nothing less. So some of you guys are super obsessed with maybe learning TikTok, learning Facebook, learning Instagram, other just different marketing strategies. And those are all well and good. But I'm telling you, leadership development will pay you in droves. Marketing is good, but if your leadership style isn't on point, then your team will suffer. Now, here's the truth, is that everyone influences somebody. You are either influencing your new Pro 2 to get to the next level and make a run for 3, or your new distributor to hit the 5 and 5, the bonus pools, or they're influencing you on why they can't. Somebody is always selling. Somebody is always selling. Somebody is always closing, to use sales terms. So who's selling who in a majority of your mentorship conversations? Who's influencing who? The leader decides what type of influencer they will be to the members of their team. A leader has to decide, how am I going to lead? The way I led in my previous company is not the way I lead here. In LifeVantage, no way. I told you guys, the type of leader that I was a brat. I was a jerk. It was my way or the highway. I was full of myself. I believed all of my own press. And I'll tell you guys, if you make $1 million by the time you're 27, you would be a brat too. You would. Everyone, unless you do it really slowly, if you make $1 million fast, you're going to be a brat. Because I didn't have the training. I didn't have the mentorship. I didn't have the grooming. I didn't have the experience. I didn't skin my knees yet. I had to skin my knees. God had to take me to my knees and pretty much allow me to shove my face in the sand, in the dirt, gravel, for me to get a checkup from the neck up. Charlie's like, yeah, you've definitely grown. She's been there. She's held on strong. The loyalty is true. All right. The truth is everyone influences somebody. So what type of leader will you be? What type of leader will you be? What type of characters or attributes? When I think about magnetic leaders, people that they love to follow, we discussed this 40 some weeks ago. I said confidence, intuition, right? They kind of know where to go. Kind of feel like they have like spidey senses. They're visionary, character, commitment. They have accountability, humility, discipline. What type of attributes do you want to maintain and build for your organization? What type of attributes do you want to model? Now, of these, what is the make or breaker? Go to the chat. Let me know. Is it confidence? What's the make or breaker? Is it intuition? Is it visionary? Is it character? Is it commitment, accountability, humility, discipline? And there's more. What's the make or breaker? Gwen says discipline. Candace says confidence. Sue echoes confidence. Susan says discipline. Melena says commitment. Discipline and confidence. Okay, so we're getting like a little bit. All right. Nailed it. Alyssa, Philippa, nailed it. Character. Character is the make or break. I think so many people think that they want to be a leader, but they don't think what is required of them, of who they have to become in order to be the leader, which is character. And we think about what the Merriam-Webster definition says, that character is moral excellence and firmness. Now, here's what's important to note. Character doesn't make you into a leader. It doesn't auto you in. Just because you have character, I mean, gosh, Rita, you've been in this industry forever, right? Over what, 2 decades? Ish? How many people have been on your team with big character, quality character, firm? Thousands, right? Like, I've met tons of people with really great character, but it doesn't mean that they're a leader. But here's the thing. If you don't have character, it'll disqualify you. You can get to the top, to elites, to master ranks on ability alone, but you won't stay there without character. Character is who and what we really are. That's why we say leadership is an inside job. Leadership 101. To think about. And it's like, and I'll tell you guys over the next few weeks, we're going to dive into how to identify character, how to identify leadership, to identify potential, to identify capacity, to identify discontentment, to find that, to find who's hungry. And we're going to talk about equipping them over the next couple of weeks. But I'll tell you guys that in Leadership 101, the higher that you go, there's higher level of commitment. There's more eyes on you. There's more people counting on you. One of my mentors, although I don't really like the way he led in my previous company, he was not really nice. He did say a few things that stuck with me. And one of them was that the higher you go, the lower amount of personal freedom you have. Now that seems weird, right? Rachel, it's like, oh, wait, well, hold on. You told me that I could go to the top here and I could have autonomy, do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want to do it with. Yeah, kind of. But do you guys expect me to show up here every Wednesday? Or is it there's an expectation? Do you guys show up? Do you guys expect me to be the first to register for EA and for Global Convention and LVA? Don't you guys expect me to be on every Success Mastery? Which I pretty much have, with the exception of traveling or being on a plane. Even when we're talking about the virtual watch party, there are several of you guys who have still not stepped up to put your watch party on the listing. You're going to watch Elite Academy. Why not open your home? That's what leaders do. Leaders run the play. Leaders step up. Leaders serve. Leaders inspire. Leaders do it when there's 2 people or 200. Leaders show up. The higher that you go, the easier it is to lead. This is good news. Remember, I just gave you some bad news? The first two. This is good news. The first two. Oh gosh, more commitment. Hey guys, you know what? There's also more money. Good news. There's more money. There's more options. There's a lot of things I stress out about. Money, not so much. Doesn't mean stress all goes away. So some of you guys have been on this call, you've made tons of money. Doesn't mean that stress is still there. It's just different stresses. But that's one that you can kind of cross off as you create financial freedom, as you're a good steward, as you invest, as you pay yourself, as you pay your taxes, and you're smart with your money. You don't increase your standard of living as you grow more income here. But the higher that you go, the easier it will be to lead. This is my promise to you, is it gets easier. And it gets a little harder, but it gets easier. Kind of gets a little harder, but it gets easier. I did a coaching call last night with Candace, and we ran a play for her to run to Pro 5 this month. And so we were breaking down everything that she needs to do, breaking down how many people had to hit Pro 2 and how many she has to enroll. And so we were breaking down the numbers to get her that extra couple thousand in points. And she's like, how did that just come off of your lips? And I said, because I've been running this play for like 7 years. I've done it personally for myself 8-9 times in relaunching my business. So it just becomes easy. It flows. The more that you do it, you can just like, it's just good. You got it inside of you. This is good news. And the higher that you go, this is what we're all here for, the greater the impact. The greater the impact. The greater the ability to serve, the greater the ability to get involved in the community or to be a part of the philanthropic things that you want. Or it's just so crazy, the ripple effect of the people that you inspire, who equipped, who inspire. And then all of a sudden 20, 30, 40 generations, people you don't even know, never would have met, are being impacted by your decisions to be a leader. So this Legends call, for the next few minutes, guys, as we get into this, we're going to get into the conversation of influence, is about ownership. This is about you beginning to own your business this summer. We are 30% into the month, not quite, 28% into the month. Are you 28% to your goal? This is a checkup from the neck up. This is about how you are leading yourself before we can lead others, before we can mentor them, before we can equip them, before we look down and say, hey, why don't you guys get off your duff? This is looking at you, because leadership is influence, and the more influence you gain, the better leader you become. Now, there's a lot of ways to gain influence. Guys, how much money you've made, your stack, that's a way to have influence, right? I'm a Pro 4. That gives you influence. It's a positional level 1 leader, but it's still there. The rank title that you have, how much time you're in front of a group. So for instance, when I put an elite on a call, when I put a premier on a call, when LifeVantage asked for Erica Dale to do the webinar last night, she's in front of the crew. She's on stage, virtually or in person. So you get influence there. That's why there's some people that aren't allowed on calls on our team, because their character has disqualified them of influence. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Who you hang out with, right? How many guys were just even seeing the slides of my mentors? You're like, oh my goodness, look at her. Oh my gosh. Like, look at her snuggling with Ray Higdon, right? That gives you influence. And who's on your team, right? Sometimes I'm like, yeah, Rita Goat's on my team. Yep, for sure. Yep, Patty Rotman. Dope, that's my mom. She's on my team. Charlotte Venter. Yes. Her and Granier, they're on my team. Yep, Josie too. Yep, Beata. Like, I was like, yep, that gives you influence. It does. But I want to talk about the greatest gain of influence. That's all good. It's valuable. It's helpful. But we want to talk about great gain. Let's get into it. The greatest influence that a person can gain is what I've learned from John C. Maxwell, called moral authority. Moral authority. It's the credibility you earn by walking your talk. This is the throes of leadership. This is leadership 1. This is leading by example when you are walking your talk. So now the thing about moral authority is that it can't be given to you. You can throw volume under somebody and give them a rank. Doesn't make them a leader. Doesn't give them leadership authority or moral authority. The only person that can write these words down, build and sustain. The only person that can build and sustain moral authority, the highest form of influence that there is, the highest form of leadership that there is you. Underline, circle, highlight, italicize, bold. You, ownership. And the only way you can do this is by walking your walk. This is higher than your rank, guys. This is higher than me being a Master Pro 10. It's higher than you being a Pro 7 or a Premier Pro 5. This is higher than that. Once you've gained this, guys, there's a different level of respect. It's a different level of leadership. And I know what moral authority is because I have it. Melaine is in my DMs. You're inspiring me. I was like, is it my 5K? Is it my running? Because I'm terrible at it. Training for a 5K. I have 9 days to my race. It's the worst decision I've ever made in my life. I've hated every minute on the treadmill outside, heaving. I'm like, I'm convincing myself I have COVID because I'm like, I'm not meant to run. This is terrible. She goes, no. It's not that you're running that's inspiring. It's that you're working. I've enrolled 8 people this month. My walk and my talk match up right. My walk and my talk, and I love this phrase, your walk talks and your talk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. One more time. Your walk talks and your talk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. Your actions speak so loudly to your team that they can't hear you. Your actions, your work, your moral authority, your tank. The easiest thing to do is to get on a mentoring call, to get on a live with them, to do a Zoom, to get in front of the room and tell everybody what you did last month, last year, 2019. The hardest thing to do is to get off that call and go do it again today and tomorrow and next week and next month. Oh, Rachel, you say I don't have to do this for forever? Oh, gosh. Yes. If you want moral authority, if you don't want to be a historian. The moment you start talking about yesterday, what did we say last week? The moment you start talking about yesterday and yesteryear and what you did in the past, you're a has-been. You're not a relevant leader. This is why you'll hear people say that a pint of example is equal to a gallon of advice. Now we know everyone that's not in the US is like, can you just please use metrics like liters or something, right? But it's a famous phrase. A little pint of example is equal to a gallon of advice and coaching. Give me a little bit of example and it's worth way more than a bunch of talk and a bunch of speaking, okay? Don't tell me what to do. Show me what you're going to do. That's Coach John Wooden, who I've mentioned several times in this mastermind. Great coach too. Learn from, study from him and Dale Brown. Coach Wooden was one of the winningest coaches in NCAA history. His leadership style is phenomenal. So highly recommend that. So every good leader that I know, they talk vision. This is a good thing. Guys, we talked about being a visionary as a character of a leader, but I will tell you guys that very few leaders, they show example. So what backs up your vision is your example. What backs up what you're going to go do, what you say is you're actually walking the walk. The moral authority of your vision is not what you say. It's what you do. So get this, guys. 40 hours ago, we launched a little 48-hour blitz with 20 messages. Hashtag ITT invite blitz. How many, do you think that I just enrolled 4 people in 2 days because I'm freaking slamming Messenger. Slamming it. 3 yesterday, 1 today. Well, I shouldn't say it. I helped Tony with one of them. Tony was a referral, so I helped him convert that one. So that was kind of a gimme. But the other 3 were legit. Like legit hammering it ITT. Getting them to that first video, the Nerf 2 video, getting them to the overview, etc., answering their questions, building them a cart, boom. So have you told your team to do the invite blitz, ITT invite blitz, but have you done it? So I will tell you guys that when you start a new distributor, a new teamie, those first few months, they're going to take you by face value because you're a level 1 leader, right? Because you got position. Positional leadership means you're the premier, you're the elite, you got the rank, you got the stack, you're the person on the call, the mentor. But after a couple of months, what you say will begin to lose emphasis and weight, but what you do will increase in emphasis and weight. So if you imagine scales in my hands, what you say loses emphasis, which I would go up, and what you do gains emphasis. It's weightier. And the longer you lead a team, the more you will need example. Write this down, because the law of familiarity. They know you. After 6 months, your team knows you. Oh, what a scary thought. So you need to be leading by example, and words will never bail out a bad example. I love this phrase, quote by Mark Twain. To do right is wonderful. To teach others to do right is even more wonderful and much easier. To do right is wonderful. To teach others to do right is even more wonderful and way easier. It's much easier to tell people what to do. And guys, I want you to know I am talking to me. I am reaffirming what I have to do for you guys to follow me. I can't sit on this call every month with an empty tank. How could you take me seriously? Why? Because I hit the top of the charts 18 months ago? Husband. Got to do it today. If you want to put your team into a leadership confusion, into a jail, give great advice and set a bad example. People won't even know. They won't even have a clue what to do when you do that. Hey, go do the ITT invite blitz, but you haven't done it yourself. Go and do a watch party, but you haven't launched yours yet. When they hear you talking about what you want them to do, but they don't see you doing it, it throws them for a curve. Hey, you got to go live. You got to post more. You got to but you're not doing it. It throws them in a loop. Talk about confusion. This is what I want out of you. I want you guys to have moral authority. I want you guys to all of a sudden grow. Gwen, Cheryl, Patty, Ivy, Erica, massive moral authority there every month. I want you guys, Holly, I want you guys to have so much credibility with your organization because you're walking your talk. You're gaining moral authority. There's nothing that replaces this. I was once mentored by the leader that I mentioned earlier who was the epitome of what not to do. So part of leadership is showing, follow me, do what I do. But sometimes in life we have leaders that are a horrible example. Like every time I think of them, I think, man, if I just do the exact opposite of what he did and said, how he treated people, I'll be just fine. Some people are horrible examples in their authority. Here's a great example is Benjamin Franklin. There's a great biography of Benjamin Franklin that I read probably 7 years ago. He's a great man to study, very interesting man, quirky. And his leadership, though, is high. And in the city of Philadelphia, he obviously was a place of influence and invested in Philadelphia. And this is back in the day with lanterns, oil lanterns that would light up the street. Obviously, no major electricity or anything like that. And what was happening on his block or in his neighborhood is that after dark, because there wasn't a lot of lanterns or light, people would fall. They'd hurt themselves. They'd fall off like the curbs and they couldn't see anything. So they'd bump into stuff. And so everyone was trying to petition the local city, the Philadelphia City Council, to put up lanterns or lights so that people wouldn't fall. And of course, you guys know if you want to get things done very slowly, you go to the government. If you want it done very expensive, poorly done, and take forever, you get a corporation involved. You get red tape, right? So what does Benjamin Franklin do? He goes out and he purchases a beautiful lantern and he installs it in front of his home on his street, and every night he goes out there, he lights the lantern as it begins to get to dusk. He, wipes off the glass, makes sure it's shining bright. And, like moth to a flame, people are like, ooh, light. And so they're gravitating towards Benjamin Franklin's house. And what happened, guys, after the city saw this and a bunch of other neighbors started following suit, they started installing these lanterns all throughout the city and all throughout the neighborhood. Benjamin Franklin was leading by example of what he wanted to see done, the change he wished to see. When do you know that you've been a good example? Is when somebody has said to you, I want to be just like you. That's when you know you are setting a good example. I want to chase you. I want to follow you. I want to emulate what it is. Now, I want to do a little small detour because I know some of you guys have people you're following. I want to talk a little bit about the people you're being mentored by. And I want to just give you a couple little nuggets that I had these are back from when I had my notes with John. He said, never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with somebody incapable of contributing to a solution. Where my ladies at? Where my ladies at? There's no point on getting a call just to gripe. If that person, I have several people in my life, I'll tell you guys, for years I would call them and we would gripe and we would whine and we would complain. Why isn't this that way? Why isn't it this way? How can we improve this? And it came to the point where I'm like, I still talk to them, but I can't make those calls anymore because they're not even giving me a solution. They're not even helping. It's just a waste of breath and time. Those who have never succeeded will be the first to tell you how. And not everyone has the right to speak in your life. Like if you're exchanging ideas with the wrong person, you're going to get the worst end of the deal. Don't follow people who are going nowhere. Don't cling to people. Don't invest time in leaders or ranks or coaches that aren't building anything or haven't built anything in a long time. Be careful who you stop and ask for directions around, along the road of life. Be careful who you stop and ask for directions. You only want to be following and listening to people that are walking the talk and talking the walk. Who have moral authority. These are your best mentors. So I want to stop it here. We're going to be talking, we'll kind of continue on next week